Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 147. I am Brendan. PFL 2022, PFL 6. Okay, this is the final card of the regular season. We're going to go over that, featuring, Kayla Harrison, Rory Mcdonald. They didn't fight each other. Ray Cooper III, and Magomedkerimov, as well as some others. So we're going to go over this card, and we're just going to go over the main card here. We're not going to cover what I would consider the prelims. We're not going to go over that, but we are going to go over the main 6 fights. So we're going to go over those, and then we're going to talk about the playoffs and the bracket and how that's going to work, and a little bit of scheduling. So before we get started, real quick, if you like MMA, if you like podcasts about MMA, if you like the UFC, PFL, Bellator, I cover them all. I do videos every single week, 2 or 3 of them at least. And if you like that stuff, subscribe to the channel, because that way you'll know when the next video is coming out. If you do like this video, please press the like button. All right, let's get started. Okay, so in the main event, we had Kayla Harrison taking on, was it Tanya Young? Oops. Caitlin Young. Oopsie. So Kayla Harrison ends up getting the finish here with a huge double leg takedown early on, and then she rotates to the back and got the TKO finish in the first round to get 6 points, giving her 9 points, making her the second seed, I believe, in the women's lightweight division. We will go over that in a little bit. Harrison looked back to form. I think she looked good. I think, what else can you say about her? She looked strong. She looked determined in there. I don't know if, the last fight was really indicative of who she is as a fighter, or who her opponent was, or anything like that. I thought she did great. Her last fight as well, I thought she was dominant. She just didn't get the finish. That shit happens, and apparently that didn't sit well with her, so she really forced the issue on this one and got the finish in the first round here, not making us wait around to see. Now, the person she fought, and Caitlin Young here, does have a negative record at this point. So this is one of the fighters in the PFL. She's 12-13. I understand that in the women's division, the talent pool is lower. We've been over this as far as, even bantamweight and featherweight. I think the women's division is extremely thin. This is women's lightweight. We're talking about big women here, right? Most women in athletic shape are not 155 pounds. And if they are 155 pounds, they probably have a little bit of weight that they can lose to get down. Now, you will have some female athletes who are, 6 foot tall, like Megan Anderson. You're going to have some female athletes who are just beefy, right? Just got a ton of muscle, whether that be through PEDs or naturally. Some women are just built different. Some people are just built different. I'm just trying to highlight, because Harrison really put the beating on Caitlin Young here and got the finish super fast. So it's not surprising at all. She was a minus 1,000 or minus 10,000. I forget what she was a minus 10,000 or something crazy favorite in this fight, rightfully so. And then somebody bet, I think, $2.5 million to win $100,000. And that sounds risky, because you have the possibility of losing $2.5 million. But on the flip side, you can just make $100,000 by doing nothing. With as much of a sure thing in MMA as there is, right? Kayla Harrison is a sure bet almost every time she's out there, and it's just like printing money. You can just go there, make your money, and walk away. So I think it's, I don't think it's a bad bet. I would bet on her if she was, a 20,000 favorite and you're making pennies. But the thing is, it's guaranteed money. So why not? All right, moving on here. Let's go to the co-main event, I guess you could call it. Rory Mcdonald versus Setabusi. Rory didn't look bad, but he didn't look great. And he was very wrestle heavy, which is normal, right? That's Rory Mcdonald can do that. but he didn't use his jab well to enter, and he got cut on the face early on due to some, like, they were, nothing punches, but they scraped his face, whether that be from a nail. It might have been from a nail, honestly, the way it scraped open his right cheek. And, he got cut early. He was wrestling and grappling the whole time. In the first round, I didn't have him winning a single round here. I know some people did, and some people were very upset, as well as the commentary team and the Verdict MMA, freaking voting, whatever that crap is called. He didn't do any damage, guys. And he, his wrestling, he put him against the cage and had him in, good clinch position. But, dude, he didn't. He barely took him down. I think he got him down on the ground once, kind of. But Sadabusi also got on. Dude, it was bad. This fight was not fun to watch. And, that's not an indictment on either fighter or necessarily that that's a bad thing when it means getting a win. But if you're boring and losing, maybe we need to work on something here. So both guys end up going to the playoffs here anyway, because Rory got the first round finish in his last fight, and Sadabusi has 2 wins in this season, so he also has 6 points. So both guys advancing to the welterweight playoffs. And again, we will talk about the playoff picture in a second here. Ray Cooper III, some Cooper on Cooper violence. Brett Cooper is the guy who got dominated, I believe, by Rory Mcdonald last. And Cooper III, based off a fight that happened earlier in the night, I don't know if it was Magomed Umalatov or Magomedkerimov. That might have been either one of those fights. One of them made it so that Ray Cooper couldn't make the playoffs no matter what he did. Oh, I see that he has -5 points. Whoever's running your website, guys, come on. There's no reason to put a negative here. I get it. Somebody was probably updating this thing, and they went down here and pressed the minus button because it's habit. I do it too. But come on. It's been a couple days. Let's go. Change this, please. Good grief. Not cool. Anyway, so he does have 5 points, but he can't make the playoffs in this fight. Oh, so let's talk about what happened in this fight. He just walked across the cage, sorry. Walked across the cage and just started throwing hooks. And Cooper shelled up real quick and was defending well, I guess. But, Ray Cooper never stopped. He just kept going, throwing hard. Eventually, one of them got through to the head. Didn't really rock Cooper or anything. Brett, I keep saying Cooper. Cooper rocked Cooper real good. So dumb. But at one point, he landed this right hook to the body, and that put Brett Cooper down, and that was the end of that one. So that was more along the lines of what I was expecting from Ray Cooper III this season, and I just didn't see that in his last fight. I'm guessing he was injured or something was off, or he was sick, because this is who he is, and this is what he looks like. And I'd be damned if I didn't put money on him winning in any other organization. Not necessarily a title, but being competitive. All right, Magomedkerimov versus Delano Taylor. Magomedkerimov getting the win, getting the finish in the second round. So Magomed was keeping the damage, even got the takedown and landed some grounded pound in that first round. So obviously I gave him that first round, but that doesn't matter because in the second round he landed a really big right hand, then followed up with some volume to get the TKO finish. Now what's unfortunate is also they didn't update his points, so he should have 5 points. What's unfortunate is he did not fight in the regular season here. Good grief, who is running your website? Come on. Anyway, so he's 1-0, but so he didn't fight earlier in the season. He didn't get the 2 fights, and he is the first PFL season winner for welterweight. He was the champ, the first $1 million winner in that division. So it's not like he's a bad fighter or anything. He just didn't fight the first fight, and now he's behind the 8 ball when it comes to getting points to make the playoffs, which is kind of silly about their system. Because if you can't make the fights, you can't get into the playoffs. So it's a little silly, but it is what it is. It's the way the organization works, so it's not necessarily disappointing. It's more just, hey, this is something we got to deal with. Right? This is a part of the sport as well, is showing up when you need to. Apparently, Jenna Fabian also has -1 point. How is that possible? Larissa Pacheco has 12 points now because she got the first round finish in this one. She hurt her early, forced a takedown, got on top, and then started laying down some ground and pound after going for some submissions, but ends up getting a position. So Larissa Pacheco, she has a very deep voice, and she has very subtle but telltale signs of testosterone use. So I don't know if she's ever popped before. I don't know what the PFL is testing for, but it is very odd for a woman to have that deep a voice without experimenting with some exogenous chemicals. And the same with, I don't want to get too deep into it because it's whatever. I think a lot of these fighters are probably on stuff anyway. It's just more obvious when females do it because the effects are less gradual and more extreme. Jarrah Al-Salawi versus Magomed Umalatov. So Umalatov here is still undefeated, getting the knockout win in the first round here. He needed so Magomed needed a win in the first round, and Salawi just needed a finish in any round to be eligible for the playoffs. But Umalatov rocked him with a back fist and then chased him down and put him out with a right hand, a big right hand, and the guy went flying. It was crazy. Fun fights. I did not watch the other ones. It wasn't on the, I guess they were technically prelims with Kalesnik. Although, didn't Kalesnik make the playoffs? Jindrova versus, all the women were on the, it was all women's lightweight. Okay. Anyway. All right, let's talk about some playoffs, shall we? Playoffs. Every time someone says that, that's what I think in my head. Okie dokie here. So, this is the next card, August 5th, Friday. Anthony Pettis taking on Stevie Ray. So, this is lightweight. Men's lightweight. Anthony Pettis. How is he the number 1 ranked? Oh, because he has a finish. That's so weird. So weird. And the thing is, they just fought. So oh man, I don't even know who my money's on. Because Stevie Ray was doing okay. And then when they got on the ground, I don't know. I think Pettis could win this one. So Anthony Pettis is a number 1 ranked in the rankings here. OAM. Olivier Aubin-Mercier is number 2. Alexander Martinez is number 3. And Stevie Ray snuck in with the win versus Pettis with 5 points here. So he's the one, when he got the finish in that second round, it put him in contention here not in contention, to put him into the playoffs. So because he's the lowest ranked and the lowest seed, and Anthony Pettis is the first seed, even though they just fought each other, they're fighting again. I do kind of like that. I think it's interesting how that lines up. And then here's the other one, OAM taking on Alexander Martinez. I don't know what to say about this one. The safe money, I think, is on OAM through boring decision and just getting the win. But, a win's a win, and $1 million is $1 million. So, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but if he wins, he wins. Okie dokie. Also, we got light heavyweights on this card. Robert Wilkinson is going to be taking on Delon Monte. Right. Robert Wilkinson is 2-0, and Delon Monte had 1 win, but he did get the finish in the first round, so that's why he's in there. There's a lot of guys who got finishes. Yeah. And then we have the other guys. Omari Ahmeda versus Antonio Carlos Jr., last season's winner in the light heavyweight division. This is going to be fun. I don't know. This one's hard for me. Probably Wilkinson I'd be leaning towards, but Delon Monte hits really hard, so he could change that up. Omari Makhmedov versus Antonio Carlos Jr. This one is interesting because Akhmedov can wrestle a little bit, and he's very strong, but his cardio sucks so much. His cardio is horrendous. Carlos Jr., on the other hand, is, kind of strong. I mean, not for this weight class. He's not super strong for light heavyweight. His grappling, obviously, is another level. And his cardio is not horrible. His striking's okay. He's a better all-around fighter than Akhmedov. Akhmedov will throw really big hooks, kind of force his way into situations and grapple a little bit. But he's really looking to either take your head off or put you down and ground and pound you. I mean, I'm sure he has submissions in his history, but it's not a huge part of his game in anything that I've seen in the UFC or the PFL here. Whereas Carlos Jr., he loves to grapple, get you down on the ground, and mess around with you down there. And if that does anything to Akhmedov, it's going to drain his gas tank. So I think the safe money is on Antonio Carlos Jr. in this one. And that would put him against the winner of Wilkinson versus Monte, obviously. And then I would favor Carlos Jr. again to win. Okay. So that I said last week, I think I said it last week, we were going to go over the playoffs. So that's what we are doing. We're going to go off the entire playoff picture. So these guys just fought on this last card here. We're going to go over the welterweight rankings. So Rory Mcdonald, despite losing, is still the first seed, similar to Anthony Pettis because he has that first-round finish. And he's taken on Magomedkerimov, who just had his own win, one win, right? And it must have been later than when Rory got his, because that's how they... Oh, it goes number of wins, and then it goes number of finishes. That's so weird. But anyway, Macdonald to Umlatov. Oh, that's a tough fight for Macdonald. Because Umlatov can grapple. He can wrestle real good. So that's going to be a rough one. The super fan and the UFC fan and Rory Mcdonald fan, to be honest, wants me to go with Macdonald here, but I don't know. This might be a win for Umlatov. He might be able to stall long enough. I mean, look what Sadabusi did, and he's not a good grappler. If Umlatov can keep the standing and just land a couple punches, and Macdonald doesn't want to engage like that and tries to go in with the same game plan that he had against C, he's gonna lose. So I'm leaning towards Umlatov. Macdonald, but Macdonald could surprise me. I am hoping that he gets his shit together and he can win. And then Sadabusi taking on Carlos Leal. I don't know. We'll see. I get it. Sadabusi, see it, whatever. I don't know. Sadabusi's not the best fighter. I didn't think he won his first fight, and then the Macdonald fight was a real stinker. But he did. I had him winning that fight. It was a stinker. So I don't have much to say about that one. It's really weird that one of these guys is going to be in the finals. I think Magomed and Rory is the true finals. So whoever comes off that side's most likely going to... Well, that's not true because, I don't know. Macdonald could probably make the change and beat both those guys. All right, men's heavyweight. Denis Golslav, actually, with one first-round finish and a decision win. It takes the number 1 seed, and he's taken on Bruno Capelozza, the much-touted heavy hitter, super athletic guy who ended up losing his last fight. He didn't lose to Ante Dalia. No, that wasn't one. Oh, man. Oh, he lost to Golslav. That was right. Oh, no, he didn't. No. He lost to Scheffel. That's who it was. Scheffel stepped up real big and got the win against him. So he's fighting Golslav. I have nothing. I haven't seen these guys fight enough to know what's going on. And Fajeda here, I have no idea, versus Ante Dalia. Ante Dalia had a real stinker of a performance, but somehow somehow eked out a win and got in here. Like I said, he had a real stinker. I didn't think he won his last fight. And then Fajeda lost his last fight and showed big weaknesses in his skill level. But he's super tall and super athletic, and that's his whole thing carrying him through. Again, this is heavyweights, and outside the UFC, heavyweights is a real shit show. It just is, because you got, like, it could be literally anything. All right, women's lightweight. Kayla Harrison obviously getting the win. She is not the number 1 seed. She's taking on Martina Jindrova. Harrison's going to win that one. That's cool. And then Pacheco versus Kalesnik. Kalesnik could surprise everybody. She is very tough, but Pacheco hits hard and is most likely going to end up winning this one. So in the finals, it's probably going to be Harrison and Pacheco. And then Harrison's probably going to dominate through grappling. So not upset about that. That's just the way it is, and I'm actually kind of excited. All right, featherweight semifinal. Chris Wade is the number 1 seed, and Brendan here just did not show up in his 2 fights. Barely eking out a win in that first fight against Ryoji Kudo, in a fight I don't think he won. Maybe he could win that, fine. And then in his second fight, he just didn't have it. I don't know what's going on with him this season. He just didn't have the explosiveness and the killer instinct that I'm used to seeing from him. But anyway, Chris Wade does. He has all those things. Chris Wade has been fighting like a man possessed this year. I think he's gonna put it on Loughnane pretty hard, and maybe even get the finish in the first round. I think Wade wins this. As much as I like Brendan, I don't know how he's gonna win, unless he just toughs it out and gets Wade tired. But I didn't see that when Wade fought Lance Palmer. Wade, if anything, turned it up in the later rounds. So I don't know. Maybe heavy grappling can do it, but Wade is a really good wrestler, and Loughnane picked up wrestling recently. So I just don't see a path to victory for Brendan here, barring some crazy knockout, which can happen to anybody. And then Ryoji Kudo versus Bubba Jenkins. This one's going to be a fun firefight. Kudo hits freaking hard, man. And Jenkins, this is a 50-50 fight to me. I think it's whoever just is going to end up landing first is going to win this fight. So I can't really predict this one at all. Not that my predictions mean anything. Just based off of what I've seen, what's most likely to happen. I have no idea. I do know that Kudo can be dominated through wrestling, so if Jenkins, needs to fall to that, he can. But, it's probably just going to end up being a firefight, and the first person to land is going to end up winning this one. So, yeah, that's it. That is the playoffs. That was that covered PFL 6 and also the brackets and stuff like that. Let me know what you guys think. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The PFL is my second favorite organization to watch. I think their presentation, I think the information, I think the way they put up their scoring system, I like all that stuff. I like the general quality and quantity of fights, right? I understand that, they come in bursts where, for 4 weeks in a row we'll have PFL, and then we have a month off. And then 2 weeks in a row we have PFL, and then we have a month off or 2 months off or whatever it might be. So I like, that rest pause type of thing instead of having fights every weekend. Not that that's bad. I just like that, it's got like a tempo to it, and I enjoy that. I also like the UFC being every single weekend. That's why one of the reasons why it's my favorite. Also, I think the quality of fights and just the presentation quality by far. The UFC is just the best. Hey, you can say what you want. You want to be an MMA snob. You're more than welcome, and you're more than welcome to have your opinions and your subjectivity. You can like what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think they have objectively the best presentation. I think they have the best commentary night in, night out, right? It's not every single night, not every single commentary team. They don't knock it out of the park every single night. But more often than not, they do. I think they're great. And then I think PFL isn't a close second, but I think they're on a trajectory to, as far as just presentation goes, right? I think they're on a trajectory to not I maybe at one point becoming even with the UFC, just in presentation, not in skill level, although that's a possibility as well. At the upper end, similar to how Bellator. So Bellator at the very top, right? The top 5 fighters, the top 2 fighters, the champions. Could they compete with the champions and the top 5 fighters in the UFC? Yes. In some divisions, especially, yes. Outside of that, absolutely not. Bellator is a wasteland of mediocre talent and, aging veterans, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just explaining exactly, objectively what it is. The UFC, top to bottom, best organization as far as depth goes. PFL, very thin organization, but because of their structure and their season format, it makes it very interesting and easy to follow. Whereas Bellator haphazardly throws together like a tournament and has this stuff. Once in a while they'll get it with their marketing will be pretty good. I'm just telling you. And watching their fights is a pain in the ass. Having to be, subscribed to Showtime and then only watch, that all just sucks. The PFL has it down. Obviously they're a part of ESPN, so, it's easier to just kind of glom on to what the UFC is doing, and that's fine. Why not emulate the organization that's been doing this for 30 years? What are you going to do? Try and reinvent the wheel when it comes to presentation? And here's the thing. They kind of are by adding in all the statistics with the punching speed and the way that they're scoring and showing the fan voting, all that stuff. I enjoy those things. I think they are added value. I don't necessarily think it's a necessity, but I like that it differentiates the PFL, and I like the season structure. I've already said that. I think that differentiates the PFL from the UFC. And then I also like the fact that they do a good job with their presentation. I know I'm going to circle back to that now. I really think that their presentation is better than Bellator's. Their commentary team by far is better. Randy Couture and Kenny Florian together are fantastic. I love them. I think they're so good. I think their lighting is excellent. Their sound, I think the sound is really good. I think the fighter walkouts are just enough. Making the fighter walkouts like Pride back in the day in a big stadium with the fireworks and making them very WWE type of thing. I could take it or leave it. It doesn't do anything for me. I think it's sometimes cool. Sometimes it's just annoying and it takes up time. So I understand why the UFC doesn't do it, and it doesn't hurt the UFC as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it takes away from their presentation quality. But the fact that the PFL has it, and because they're not generally packing these stadiums, so they don't need to worry about maximizing their seating potential and charging $10,000 for a couple seats where the runway would be, I don't care. It's fine, and I think it's a good move for the PFL. Again, differentiating themselves from the UFC. So their presentation quality, as far as, I said, the lighting, the sound, the commentary team, and then, just their the presentation of the quality of the fights, I think is on par with Bellator, and that's where both of these organizations really lag behind when it comes to the UFC. Yes, the UFC has some stinkers, but they also have the advantage of having a card almost every weekend of the year. So yeah, if they have a stinker of a card with some lackluster or mediocre talent or mediocre fights, well, that's okay, because next weekend we get another one, we get to reset. Okay? It's more similar to a regular season like football. Right? There's football every weekend. So you can kind of just watch it. And if there's not an exciting game, there's other games on anyway. And you can kind of get that, I guess, with multiple fights every weekend. But moreover, it's just the fact that, they just inundate you with content. They've got the Dana White Contender Series if you need more. You can go back and watch old fights on Fight Pass. They make it all very easy to consume content related to the UFC. The Ultimate Fighter's on again, which I haven't been watching. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have made it this far into this video. Let me know if you think the Ultimate Fighter would be worth covering. But the PFL, on the other hand, they have some stinker cards. They do. And they have some cards where it's a majority of stinkers and then a couple exciting knockouts or whatever. And that like I said, that happens in the UFC. But one of the things that mitigates that is the fact that their lighting and sound is good. I know for some of you guys, you might not care. But I'm telling you, that makes a huge difference to your general audience and to me. Like, if your audio is bad, like, think about a YouTube video, right? If your video is bad, it's, okay. I mean, for sports, I think that's more important. I think that it's flipped a little bit. I think video is more important than audio, or as important. But, like, think about a YouTube video that you've watched and the sound. Like, I've had some videos where my sound is just dog crap. It instantly makes me want to turn it off just because the sound is so bad. Sound is so important. And that makes a difference for your general audience or people who are interested in watching these things. And that's what I'm talking about here when it comes to the PFL versus Bellator, right? If your content, the thing that you're presenting, is about equal in quality and quantity, right? So Bellator doesn't have more events necessarily than the PFL, and they don't have necessarily better fights in Bellator than the PFL does. I really think that the women's lightweight division really drags down the PFL, to be honest, because you have Kayla Harrison, who's an insane athlete, and then just everybody else. You've got there's a couple women in there who can hang in there, but pretty much everyone else is just there. So anyway, when it comes to the quality and quantity being the same or about the same, then it comes down to presentation. So if you got a shit commentary team or really bad lighting like Bellator does, and you have to choose between the two, or you start watching these organizations and you're kind of like gravitating towards one or the other, I would and then also the ease of access to them being PFLs on ESPN Plus, so I could just go fucking watch it. Bellator should just put their shit up on YouTube afterwards. How many people are really going to Showtime to watch Bellator? It's me and like 5 other people, guys. You're not doing much business by that shit. I'm so surprised that Showtime even picked them up. Anyway, that's at the end of my rant. This really got away from like what I would consider like the heart of this video. But anyway, if you made it this far, there's no way you're not interested in the rest of the stuff that I do. So subscribe to the channel, because that way you'll see when the next videos come out. Like I said, I do 2 or 3 videos every single week, usually posting on Sundays, Monday. This is an odd one. Oh, happy 4th of July, everybody. And yes, the number of this video comes before ones that got posted. There was some mishaps, not with the numbering, but with timing. And also may or may not have lost some content that was created previously. So it doesn't matter. So I understand that one that was numbered differently came out before the other. I totally get that. That's fine. Forgive me for that. But let me know what you guys think about the PFL. If you like this video, hit the like button. Are you excited for the playoffs? Do you not care? Is it just more fighting to you? Does it mean anything? And also, hey, what'd you guys do for 4th of July? You do anything fun? If this is the only video you're watching this weekend, awesome. Glad you stopped by. If not, hop over and watch the UFC videos. I did the prelims and the main card over there, and I'd really appreciate it if you go ahead and give me a look and subscribe over there too. So I appreciate all this stuff. Love you guys. It means a lot to me. Have a great week.